One of the great traditions of New Year's Day is football. But before the football begins, in anticipation for the start of a great football day, many televisions are tuned to the Rose Parade in Pasadena, California. The Rose Parade, the Tournament of Roses Parade, is put on by the City of Pasadena and the Tournament of Roses Committee, and it gets millions of eyeballs every single year. Last year, for the very first time, the state of Mississippi decided to put a float in the Rose Parade. Katie Coates joins us now. She is Director of Marketing Communications at Visit Mississippi. Katie, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. This was a really fun story a year ago, and we've heard a little bit about it. But let's rewind to when this idea first began. Hey, let's take a chance. Let's put a parade, a float in the Tournament of Roses parade that is broadcast all over the United States. Where did this idea first originate?
You know, when we were first exploring this opportunity, it's not the first time that a state tourism office has done it. So, of course, we had to look into it as well. We can be competitive and want to be on the same stages that they are. And so we were looking into it and saw the benefit of the exposure of just the, around 3-minute live commercial on national television alone is something we couldn't do. And so to be able to do that was such a unique piece that shared so many different facets of Mississippi through every corner, through, all these live flowers. We just thought we couldn't pass it up.
And how did it go? I mean, you have announced that there will be a float again this year. I'm assuming that means you feel like the return on investment was pretty good.
Yes. So last year, the theme of our float was the birthplace of America's music. It launched a year-long campaign that we're still in, celebrating B.B. King and Elvis Presley, both celebrating milestone birthdays this year. And we saw the ROI just for the live broadcast alone was wonderful, and all the earned, media that came along with that, social media and PR coverage. But something that surprised us was the additional kind of added value through being there and all of the people that travel to volunteer on making the floats and see tours of the float building warehouse and come to Float Fest after, which is where all the floats line up, and you can come and speak to the hosts of the floats directly. And we came in contact with hundreds of thousands of people through that as well. So definitely was a wonderful return on investment, and we are excited to announce that we'll be returning this January 1st, New Year's Day. And the theme of our new float is Mississippi, Where Creativity Blooms, and it is a tribute to all the arts and culture visitor attractions throughout our state. So what's going to be featured on the float? The middle and biggest kind of feature is Kermit the Frog, paying tribute, of course, to Jim Henson in Leland, the birthplace of Kermit the Frog Museum. We know a lot of us here in Mississippi know that, but throughout the nation, they might not. And so we want to share that story. And then up front, we'll have Charlie Worsham performing for us, a Mississippi native and CMA Artist of the Year. And he's going to be on a stage that's wrapped with artwork inspired by Walter Anderson, representing the coast. And then, of course, on the back, we will have a big open book that represents all of the different art forms in Mississippi, whether that's visual, performing, film, and it's kind of a collage of different, museums and public art throughout the state.
We have homecoming parades at high schools all across the state. I've got a 10th grade daughter who is trying to put together the homecoming float, along with a bunch of her classmates and some parents that are helping. I had to drop off a trailer this past week for them to get ready. A little bit different in terms of the process for building a float for the Rose Parade than for your local high school's homecoming. What does that process look like? I know the answer to this, but I'm going to throw it out anyway. I'm assuming that doesn't mean that we're constructing a float here in Mississippi and then sending it out across the country to California, right?
That's right, and I'm the same way. I grew up in Mississippi on the coast, and we did what I consider float building, but it was a very different pomp situation, and so this is already in construction. And so we contract with a float builder out in Pasadena called AES, and they're already constructing the non-live matter, the base of the float. And then once we get out there, there will be back-to-back float making sessions in this huge air-conditioned warehouse. throughout the days and weeks leading up to the float. And so people, come to volunteer. They spend their holiday season taking family trips to go be a part of this. And there are leaders for each float building session that are more professional and have more experience, and they tell you where to put the flowers, and then professional florists come in to kind of finish it off. So it is quite the production, but so much fun to be a part of. And I tell people all the time, the coolest work trip I've ever gotten to do.
I'm assuming you're going back again this year?
I am. We're excited to host, a media day this year and really capitalize on that float building session. And so ahead of it, we're really going to come back to people in Mississippi and, of course, throughout the nation to invite visitors to come and experience and really dive into each of the different elements of the float. So here we are at the sign that shares all the different museums, and here we are down at the stage, and we'll talk about the Walter Anderson Museum and so forth.
Those of us who have sent flowers or received flowers know that there is a shelf life for live flowers, and you try to keep them alive as long as you can. What's the timeline for actually putting the flowers on the float? Because these are live roses and other flowers that go into to make the lion's share of the float. How does that work?
It's really interesting. It begins with they're all live organic matter is what they call it. So they will grind up, like a purple flower or this sort of stem or this herb, anything really. And if it's the appropriate color, they'll grind it up, mix it together, and then glue it on to make it look like whatever sign you're trying to replicate. And so that kind of starts first, because that obviously has a longer shelf life if it's just a piece of matter that's glued on. But then in really the couple of days leading up, that's when it goes crazy, and everyone is like all hands on deck, and the professional florists come in and they, kind of finish it out with those live flowers. And then they last through what's called Float Fest. So like I mentioned earlier, all the floats come up and take over January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And you can purchase a ticket. Hundreds of thousands of people come to see the floats up close. And then after that, they are gone away. So it's a really special thing to be a part of, to be only a certain amount of people that year that have seen those particular floats.
How expensive is this? When you talk about putting a float in the parade and going into the process of building it and hiring a float maker and all of the things that go along with it. I mean, you talked about return on investment, and obviously you got to justify the expenditure. How much does it cost?
Yes, and we're transparent at Visit Mississippi. It is about $700,000 to be a sponsor in this way, but truly the return on investment is, I'll just say, I'm going to read my numbers so I get it right, but we had 28 million viewers just to the live segment alone. On top of that, we had 800,000 plus in-person attendees. That's more of like a consumer show we were able to engage with. And then Float Fest had 72,000 people, and then the PR and social efforts generated $1.2 million in earned media value. And so it's really unlike anything else that we could have done by just placing a 3-minute commercial on national television.
Yeah. Well, and I wasn't questioning the expenditure. I just was curious. I mean, obviously there's a lot that goes into this, but it's a ROI-driven investment, and certainly very, very cool. Beyond the Rose Parade, this is a time of year when you got lots of people that are out. Hopefully it's going to cool off before too much longer. There's so many attractions across the state of Mississippi. In fact, I had somebody that sent us a message that said, hey, could you mention the Rodeo Cowboys Hall of Fame located in Columbia, Mississippi? We've got unique museums and cultural attractions all over the state.
That's right. Something new we're going to do this year is have a landing page on our website for the Rose Parade where people can click on the rendering of the float and kind of dive into the different areas that are described. And then we'll also be able to list out and link out all sorts of arts and culture attractions throughout the state. So that's kind of where we'll be driving all of that traffic. And then last year we were able to unveil record number of visitors here in Mississippi. In 2023, we had 43.7 million visitors who generated $11.5 billion in visitor spending. And so we hope that we are on track to, keep that momentum up. And we're going to be unveiling some new numbers for 2024 very soon. So stay tuned for that. But we just continue to share, all these different great visitor experiences throughout the state. We've got great events coming up this fall, like you said, when it cools off. National Folk Festival is coming to Jackson. Tons of great arts and culture festivals all throughout the state.
How does Visit Mississippi work in conjunction with local communities? There's so many festivals that are great that bring arts and crafts vendors and live music and incredible food. Obviously supportive, but what does that look like?
We are very collaborative with our DMOs. It stands for Destination Marketing Organizations throughout our state, and that's really our connection to the communities. But if a community doesn't have a DMO, we have a partner and industry newsletter that we send out monthly, and people can send in their events that go straight to our website and our social media for promotion. We try to just reach everyone through organizations, Main Street and different kind of organizations that we're able to go and speak to and educate on what we're doing here at Visit Mississippi and how we can promote their attractions.
That number you threw out a second ago is staggering. So roughly 15 times the population of the state of Mississippi, the number of visitors we had in 2023. Katie Coates, Director of Marketing and Communications with Visit Mississippi. Thanks so much for your time, and can't wait to see the Rose Parade.
Thank you.
Good to be with you this morning. Good to be with you as well. We will wrap up this edition of Mornings with Richard Cross on the other side of this timeout. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. We're back with you to wrap things up. Going to give some tickets away when we come back. Like my